Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jason Salyer and I awoke to a winter wonderland. Got a little bit of snow on the ground today. I'm gonna get a fire going. This is some fat wood. This stump has been here for years. It's resin soaked pine. And I just remember where this stump is and I come back and collect little bits off of it every time I come up here or every time I need it. It's tough to get to without an axe or some other chopping kind of tool, but once you get inside of it, you see that kind of resiny golden color. And then the key or the secret to knowing if it's really fat wood is give it a smell. And it's got that really rich pine scent to it. That stuff burns really, really good. And that's pretty much all I need to get a fire going is this chunk right here. If you just take your axe or a stick or whatever and knock off the top bit of snow, you'll get rid of some of that moisture and it'll make starting your fire a little bit easier. It's rained for probably, I don't know, 2 days straight, something like that. And then it snowed last night. Got really, really cold and everything is just soaking wet and it's just above freezing. So everything's melting and it's just kind of wet and nasty and pretty rough. This is kind of the worst case scenario other than actually raining on me right now to start a fire. And that's where this fat wood is going to come in so handy. But I've got to get myself up off of the ground just a little bit. So what I typically do is I'll just build myself a little bit of a platform. This stuff is all wet. It's got ice on it. But with the fat wood, it shouldn't really matter too much. You can use, store-bought, man-made fire starter type things like tender tabs and fire plugs and all that stuff, and that's fantastic. But if you can save those resources, keep them in your pack and not have to use them if you come across something like this, it's just going to allow you to use that at a different date. So basically, I'll just get a couple small shavings of this stuff, kind of like that. And that's all I really need to do, and it'll light up really, really easily. I could break this up into smaller bits. I won't need all of this, but as wet as it is, I might as well just use what I've got here because it's going to take a few minutes to dry out all of my wet kindling. I keep a lighter in my pocket always, and I use an Exotac fire sleeve for a Bic lighter. And if you don't have one of these, I think that you're missing out because it does a couple things for you. One, it keeps it completely waterproof, right? I could throw this in the snow, I could drop it in the creek. It doesn't matter. It's never going to get my lighter wet. It'll always be ready for action immediately. The second thing that it does for it is it's going to keep this button from getting depressed in your pocket. Yes, I know there's some tricks and hacks and things that you can do to keep that from happening. But for the most part, if you're just keeping a regular old Bic lighter in your pocket, it's going to get pushed. The button's going to get pushed and you're going to waste a lot of the fuel. The third thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about is a lighter. A Bic lighter in and of itself is a pretty slick little thing. And I've had them fall out of my pockets before if you lay down and that kind of stuff. But with this fire sleeve, it's got this rubbery texture, kind of, I don't even know what the word for it is. Latexy, not latex, but it's got this rubbery feel to it, and basically it's got a lot of friction to it, and it does not come out of your pocket. It takes a little bit of effort actually to get it out of your pocket. So I think that that's another benefit of the fire sleeve. There'll be a link in the description for these to the Exotac website, and you can use my discount code, which is ON3, ON number 3, and you can get yourself some of these fire sleeves. No problem. But you saw how fast that lit up, and it's got this really black kind of smoke that comes off of it, soot. That's that resin that's burning, and it burns so fast, it's so easily and really, really hot, and that's going to burn for a long time. That chunk of fat wood has been burning for, I'd say, 3+ minutes now, maybe longer. And still a huge chunk in there left over. There's literally no rush at all if you have a piece of fat wood like that. You just throw all your wet kindling on top of it and just let it do its thing. You don't have to do any other work to it. Just light it up, a few feathers on top of it, light it up with the lighter, and then that's it. When it's so wet like this, even the air is humid and wet, nothing's gonna dry out on its own. So if you were to get your feet wet, your socks wet, your boots, your clothing, whatever it is, it's not gonna dry on its own. You could hang it up on a line and leave it there forever and it's never gonna dry out. You've got to force dry, and that's just another reason why it's so important to have your fire skills figured out. I know so many people that think they can start a fire. You know, you say, oh yeah, I've got a lighter and I can go out into the woods, or I've got my survival kit, it's got a ferro rod in there. But there's so many people out there that fail on the simplest task of building the fire because they've just never really done it before. It's not that easy. It is easy if you've practiced it. If you've done it a lot, it can be a fairly simple process and you can have a lot of confidence in it. But I really want to challenge you to go out and do this stuff in bad conditions. And when the weather is really wet, when it's been raining for a couple days and there's snow on the ground, can you do it? If you've ever tried to melt snow before to get some drinking water, make yourself a brew or something, you'll know that if you fill up the cup and you even jam it down, pack the snow as deeply or as much as you can, you'll end up with just a tiny bit of water after it melts. So what I'll typically do if I'm trying to get water from snow is I'll do that. I'll fill my cup up with snow, and then I'll make myself a snowball, and I'll show you what to do with that in a second. So here's my hard packed snowball, and if I melt this over top of my cup, stab it with a stick, it's going to drip into that cup and help fill it up. And I can make this obviously bigger, but for demonstration purposes, I think you'll get the point. Oh, I busted my snowball trying to put it on the stick here, but that's okay. We'll just kind of form it back around it. And I just need it to sit over top of my cup like that, and as it melts, it'll just drip to the bottom, the lowest point on the snowball, and will help fill up my cup. There's a spider on top of my snow. Very interesting. Thought we were done with the bugs, but anyway, one of the cool things about this Stanley cook pot that I use is it's got holes in the lid, and see how there's kind of getting crap all in my water. Let's see if I get that to focus. I'm getting a bunch of crap in my water, and I don't like that. I generally don't like that, but there's holes in the lid on my Stanley cook pot here. So even with the lid on top, I can set this underneath my snowball, and as it drips, it'll still go into my pot and keep most of the debris out. Staying hydrated in the wintertime, it can be tough because you just don't feel like drinking water, especially cold water. And I get it. That's hard for me too. But if you're not hydrated, your body will be less capable of thermoregulation, keeping your core temperature at 98.6 degrees, and you can actually get colder. Now, if you can drink warm liquids, that's definitely ideal. Chugging some icy cold water out of the creek can definitely chill you down. But if you're up moving around, and they say don't eat snow, because that will reduce your core temperature. I get that if you're sitting still or you're injured and you can't move to generate body heat. But if you're up moving around, gathering firewood and doing the whole thing, there's nothing wrong with eating the snow. It's not going to drop your core temperature down to a level that's not manageable. Especially because you're probably going to be sweating a little bit anyway, and you're shedding layers and all of that. So it's not really something to really worry about unless, like I said, you are injured and immobile and can't move. You definitely want to try to get some warm liquids in your body if that's the situation. Being dressed appropriately for the weather, for the climate, the area you live in is really, really important. I'd say that's kind of step one. Before you head out anywhere into a wild place, make sure you're dressed appropriately. So where I live, the weather is really kind of unpredictable. I live in the Appalachian Mountains in North Georgia. I'm at about 2,000 feet of elevation, and the weather is crazy. Like yesterday it was about 70 degrees, and now it's 35 degrees and there's snow all over the ground. So dressing for that kind of weather can be pretty tricky. And I think that's why layering is so important. You typically always wear at least 3 layers. Well, I don't always wear 3 layers, but I'll take 3 layers with me. Some sort of wool base layer like this one right here, just a lightweight long sleeve wool t-shirt. Then a lightweight fast drying fleece layer like this, some sort of insulating layer. Sometimes I'll wear a down kind of jacket that works really, really well if it's colder. And then on top, I'll wear some sort of either rain gear or this really heavy duty wool coat that comes down to about knee length. An anorak, I think is the term for it. But that'll take care of my upper body along with some sort of wool cap or a fleece cap like this one. On my lower half, in the wintertime, I usually go with these rubber boots. I don't wear them all year round, but I wear them a lot of the year when I'm out and about, just because they're no nonsense, no maintenance, no fuss, no nothing. You can just trudge through the swamp, the snow, whatever it is, and you just don't have to worry about it. Keep my feet relatively warm because they're 100% waterproof. They do have some perspiration issues, so if your feet sweat, you'll have to take them off and dry them by a fire or something like that every now and then. But for me, in my climate where I live, rubber boots are awesome. Fast drying pants like these expedition pants from TruSpec are great, and then underneath I've got some wool long johns. And that pretty much completes my attire for winter time for the most part. And then I can shed layers if it gets a little bit warmer, or I'm by the fire, I'm up collecting fire, whatever. I can start getting a little sweaty. You know, I can shed those layers off. Oh, in addition to that, I've taken to wearing a buff a lot of the year because it just is a really functional piece of clothing. So if it's a hot month, right, I can dip this in the creek and I can wear it around my neck, and it's like having a swamp cooler. It's like wearing an air conditioner on you. It keeps the sun off the back of your neck, keeps you from becoming redneck. In the wintertime, I can pull this up over my face, help keep my nose and lips and stuff from getting chapped and getting cold if I'm sleeping and things like that. So it's just a really, really useful piece of kit. But I can also take this thing off and use it as like an oven mitt if I need to. If I should be an idiot and put my handle towards the fire, kind of like that, I could take this buff off and use it as a mitt if I wanted to. A little dirty, but you can see I'm still melting, and I can always, my snowball fell off my stick, but I can add another snowball to it. I got a little bit of junk going on in there, but that won't hurt you. But this is going to give me probably half, maybe 3/4 of a cup of water, of this size cup, not 8 ounces, but this size cup. So it's not a lot of water from snow, and that's why that snowball trick is pretty handy. So I'll make another snowball, I'll stick it on there, and then it'll just continue to melt. Another good thing about having a lid on a cook pot like this is you can steep things a little bit easier. So once I get my water nice and hot, kind of like it is right now, I can take it away from the heat and I can put the lid on it and let it steep and make myself some healthy pine needle tea full of vitamins. Obviously, it'd be easier to collect snow if there was a significant amount more, as opposed to just gathering it up off the tops of leaves and whatnot. And different kinds of snow are going to give you different amounts of water. A really, really dry, powdery snow gives you almost nothing. A really wet snow, kind of like this one, that kind of snow is going to give you a lot more water. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Leave us a comment. For today's comment, you can tell me what you think about this, or you can tell me, is it more fun to build a snowman or to smash a snowman?